G'day, welcome, and thanks for listening to Vet Talk Online. We're going to do a podcast here with a guy called Dr Diederik Gelderman. G'day, Diederik.
G'day, Brian. How are you? Kay, hello.
Hello.
I forgot to mention Kay's here as well. Now, look, we're checking out your brand new book, which is absolutely fantastic, Veterinary Success Secrets Revealed, How to Have an Amazing Practice and Achieve a Work-Life Balance. What prompted you to write this?
There are so many people that aren't successful, and my belief is that they're making it far too complex, and I thought there was some similarity between the people that were successful and not. And rather than just making it about me and what I've done and who I've helped, I thought I'd find some people that I thought were successful and shine the light on them so that people can read their stories and their highs and lows and their sticking points and everything else, and then learn from those people.
Well, I found it absolutely fascinating, and as I went through the book, I found there were a lot of similarities. The actual stories were different, but a lot of really, really surprising similarities. Did you find that?
Absolutely, and it surprised the heck out of me, because when I started to do this, I came up with a list of questions, and actually the list isn't mine. I went around to dozens and dozens of vets and said, what would you like to know from someone who is successful? And then I curated that list down to what you see in the book. And as I was listening to those stories and videoing them and recording them and everything else, I was amazed by the similarities.
And you asked whether it was luck or tragedy that led them where they are now. Most of the time it wasn't.
In every case, it was hard work and it was perseverance. And one of the things that really came out to me was that everyone went through hard times and everyone persevered through it. The ones that persevered through it more easily had better support systems in place, whether that's a partner or whether that's parents or whether that's colleagues or whatever. And yeah, luck and tragedy had very little to do with it. It was plain downright hard work and perseverance.
So, talking about individual subjects, Ariende, the mobile vet, I hope I said his name correctly, you asked if he had his time over again, would he still become a vet? He said, a little bit of doubt there.
Yes, and at the end of the interview, I think he changed his mind and said, yes, I would definitely do it. He fence-sit on that quite a lot, and if you read his interview, he thought about throwing it in quite a few times, and also one of his challenges, I think, is comparing being a vet to maybe being a doctor or being an engineer or something like that, and what sort of life he would have had. But I think at the end of the day, it all works out for him, and he's happy he's made that decision.
Indeed. In fact, I found it very interesting that overcoming the fear and having self-confidence was very important to a lot of people as they sort of worked out exactly what they wanted to do. For example, Barbara Fougere has moved into a much wider area of veterinary practices, I should say. What did you find fascinating about your chat with her?
Well, Barbara, she was a Qantas hostie. So she comes from where she was a hostess on an aeroplane. She also worked as a trainer for a corporate, I think it was, or for a large company. She had a very, very, very diverse career background, and now she's ended up as a specialist, alternative medicine specialist, and one of the best on the planet in the most demand. So yeah, very, very varied career path.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned she was a hostie. We've known Barbara for the best part of 20-odd years. She's, I don't mind saying, she's looked after pretty well all of our dogs, in fact, all of them. Didn't know she was a hostie. She kept that big secret, didn't she?
Well, she only did it for a short period of time. I'd have to refer to the book to have a look at it. But, it was a short period of time.
Yeah.
But how interesting.
Certainly working as a hostie would help with your communication skills.
Certainly does.
And I noticed that Barbara actually said you have to set boundaries with clients so that they don't step over the line. And I guess that's a really pressing problem for a number of vets because, it's a very emotional business. But she also had some other great tips for new graduates. What was your favourite?
Oh, one of the best tips I think we hear all the time, and yet we fail to do it because it's so simple that we don't think it has any relevance, and this is about writing down your goals. And I think if you listen to any person that's successful, they will have written down their goals, and it certainly was Barbara's tip as well.
Yeah. One of the things I actually saw recently was a quote from Albert Einstein. Basically, concentrate on one thing at a time. The secret to his success was, he thought, concentrating on one thing at a time and making that happen rather than multitasking and being all over the place. And I think that actually comes through with a lot of the people you've been talking with here.
Oh, like Debbie Delahunty, she had to make a hard decision about changing her mixed practice.
Yes, and she ummed and ahed and had a lot of decision-making to do, and she finally got rid of the large animal component and referred it out to the other practice in town, and immediately her own practice took off because she could actually concentrate on the small animal component. Yeah, so a lot of them came back with those sort of tips and whatnot, and what you said earlier about communication. I think everyone said, life changed when I learned to communicate more effectively with both staff and colleagues and clients.
Definitely, and I loved the comment. I think it was David Stasic who said, you learn all the technical terms for everything, but the general public doesn't know anything about it.
Absolutely, and that's my experience as well. I was a particularly bad communicator in my early days, and when I learned to communicate more effectively, life changed with respect to clients believing you and trusting you and all those sorts of things.
One of the other things I noticed several of these people revealed in giving their secrets up was that it's not just all about them in the workplace either. Tell us about that.
I guess this ties in with what I was just saying a minute ago, that you're working as part of a team and you're not working in isolation. And one of the big issues at uni, in my belief, is we are not taught to communicate. We are not taught to behave as part of a team. And in fact, at uni, I think we're trained to be combative to a degree rather than collaborative. And again, that's one of the things that comes out, that everyone said they needed to be part of a team, and they needed the team to support them, and they also needed to support the team.
Yes, a lot of them said about making the practice a great place for people to come to work, and certainly treating everyone the way they'd like to be treated, and not viewing their degree as some sort of God-given right to lord it over everyone.
Yeah, and the other thing I think that comes out, not so much as it's said as such, but it's certainly in the background, which is, and you talked about Barbara a minute ago, and Barbara talked about clients, setting boundaries for clients, and I think that comes out as well, and in most of the interviews, and one of the things is setting boundaries for clients with respect to your team. So a lot of clients may be very polite to the vet or the practice owner, but then, behind their back, as it were, they're rude to the staff members, and if you have got a good team, you need to protect them from clients like that. So help, set boundaries for the clients with respect to your whole team.
And interestingly enough, all of them are very optimistic for the future, even though pet numbers are dropping down.
Yes, I think there is one interview there who was somewhat negative. So if we look at Aria saying, as finally coming on board and saying, yeah, it's a good life, there was one vet there who said that he would not let his children be vets, and he wasn't all that happy about the future of the industry, but everyone else was extremely optimistic.
Yes, I liked Mark Ethel's comment that he's very excited about the potential.
Oh, absolutely. And I agree with Mark 100%. And Glenn Richards from Green Cross says exactly the same thing. He sees a huge potential in the industry.
Yes, it's interesting. It's not just the big names that had that thought.
Well, that's what I was trying to get across in the book. When I use the word success, how to be a successful vet, a lot of people thought that I was going to just pick the stars of the industry, the names, whether that be university professors or a Glenn Richards or those or a Mark Ethel that owns a very, very large practice. But about half the people in the book are, with respect, and I need to be careful how I say this, they're no-namers. People, no one knows who they are except the people who they serve, their clients. They know them, they love them dearly, they may just have a little cottage type practice here and there, but they serve those clients exceptionally well. They're loved by the clients. They do good quality work. They may not have, the $100,000 ultrasound machine, but that isn't what makes you successful. And these ladies and gentlemen had really good quality practices, and they have a really great team, and they have an exceptional work-life balance. And that's what I was really trying to show, that you don't have to be a star with a name to be successful. You can be a no-name star, if that makes sense, and be just as successul.
Yeah, that whole thing about work-life balance is absolutely true. I think, success, what is success? Is it the money in the bank? Is it the multi-practices? Or is it just the fact that you've got perhaps a small rural offering and you're just quite happy there? You love life, you love your clients, you love the animals, and life's good. You're getting just enough to get by nicely and pay all your bills, and everything's hunky-dory. So that can be success for some people too.
And that's what one of the big aims of this book was. One of the big aims is to show final year students and new graduates, 2-3 year out graduates, how other people have done various bits and pieces, and how they can model these 18 people. Just pick one whose story you like, and you can just, the pavers are on the path, if that makes sense.
It does.
And you can just follow what these guys and gals did and end up where they are. It's just a model to follow.
It's an absolutely fascinating book, and I love that you've got key takeaways after each chapter. And also there's other things that people can access to further help them in their own journey.
Yeah, so this book is, just on 200 odd pages, which is, I think, what most people will read and get through and not get halfway through and then throw away. So I tried to keep it to that readable size, something you can read in a few nights in bed before you go to sleep. But that meant that we had to cull probably about 60% of the interviews. So we had the interviews, they're all recorded live on Skype or even live to camera in some cases. I travel to a lot of these places. And so the entire video or Skype interview was transcribed. About 30% of each of those transcriptions are in the book, but the full video, the full audio, the full transcript is all available online, and the web address is in the book, and people can access that.
Well, I can only hope that your book is as successful as all of the interview subjects, because it's a ripper. Where can people get it?
The easiest thing to do is go to the website. The website is the name of the book, Veterinary Success Secrets Revealed.com, and they can sign up there. The book's $29.95. Or they can email me directly and I'll help them out. But the easiest thing is just to go to the book website.
Sensational.
Fantastic.
And so the book is available at Angus and Robertson and all the big book stores, booksellers.
Yeah.
It's available on their websites, and it's also available in the brick and mortar building.
Fantastic. That's through Global Publishing, yeah?
Global Publishing, yeah.
Thank you for joining us today, and let us know how you go.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.